All of which is terrific, but what people really don't quite get about you as a couple is the fact that you don't always share the same space, do you?
No, we have adjacent houses that have been joined together. I mean, you can get from one to the other, like, we built a corridor when I got pregnant with Billy, so there's a corridor. So, it's only about 12 feet apart. But he's always visiting.
No, I'll take your word, I'm sure he is.
It's very touching. He's always coming out. He's a bit like, Gotta be careful here, because this is the thing. You say one thing, and then you answer yourself for the next 10 years in the press. I was going to say he's a bit like a dog, in that he just needs to know where I am. He just needs to... He needs his own space, Tim. He's very private, and frankly, I do too.
And you do too, yeah. And that clearly works for you tremendously well.
Absolutely, works marvellously.
You could never envisage sharing...
We have. Because, because, we can't get two houses everywhere in the world. So we did LA, and we actually lived in the same house.
And how much did that annoy you?
It was okay, actually. No, it was okay. It was by the sea, so it was fantastically soothing. We should get the sea, and then we could live on the sea in one house. I don't know. He's an insomniac, Tim, so, he needs to watch the television all the time to get himself to sleep. I can't do that. I need silence. So... he gets his television and he gets to watch what he wants, and I get to get my silence.
You're probably more aware of this than anyone else, but you are Britain's cookie actor, aren't you?
I guess so. It's better than Corset Bimbo, to be honest, or English Rose.
Well, you were that, weren't you? And you rejected all that.
I don't think I didn't reject it. You have absolutely no power what the media are going to make you into, or, your pigeonhole. You really don't. You can't dictate how they're going to see me. I think, if anything, I'm Britain's disastrous dresser. That's my latest sort of label or pigeonhole. And
there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter what you go out dressed in. They'll get you. No. They'll get you on a bad day. It's
not only that, it's a bad photo. You can get any photo and they can decide, like, oh, let's look, And unfortunately, most of the press is predicated on the idea of schadenfreude, of seeing people, putting people down, It's all like, oh, marvellous, she looks terrible. It makes people feel better. In a way, I feel good that I make other people feel better, because they can feel like, oh, thank God I don't look like that, Oh, thank God I didn't,
do you mind just describing what you're wearing today? It's great.
How would you describe it?
Well, I think...
this is quite together, you see.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. You look a little bit...
quite smart.
There's an element, can I just say that, without being offensive, there's an element of Wild West bordello.
Bordello I've always gone for.
OK.
I didn't think the Wild West, I guess, the boots. Yeah.
Yeah, boots are great. They're leather with a heel and a little leather tie at the front.
Yeah.
And then you've got the silky, is that a peachy kind of coral pink dress?
Squash raspberry, I'd say.
Oh, OK. And lots of jewellery around.
Tons.
Tons of jewellery, including a little upside-down watch. Is that a little...
Millions.
Is that your White Rabbit tribute?
I've got quite a few around my neck, actually. I have always loved fob watches. And then doing Alice, when Tim said he was going to do Alice, I thought, fantastic, because we'll live with all that stuff and we'll get to keep all the props. I didn't know at that point it was just going to be Greenland and absolutely nothing fun to play with. But I've always had Alice stuff. That's a Mad Hatter's hat. That's a gypsy caravan, although actually that's not in an Alice. Is there? Oh, look, there's a teacup.
Absolutely tons of jewellery.
Yeah.
So as well as being
charms.
An eccentric dresser, and you don't live with your husband, you are also very aristocratic. That's the other thing, that they bundle into the...
Yeah, my dad always found that very offensive.
In what way?
Well, he was quite a pedant, Dad, and he says, you don't have one aristocratic drop of blood in you. He said, you might be upper middle class, but you're not aristocratic. We got a title in the... you get a title because if you get to be Prime Minister, it's your going home present. So... And
that was your great...
was my great... No, just my great-granddad.
Right.
Asquith, who was the last Liberal Prime Minister. So that's where the Lord thing came. And then it got diluted. I'm only half honourable, I guess. But there isn't. It's true. I mean, we've never had a country seat. There's nothing like... But I guess I talk quite posh. And
your mother is much more exotic,
completely...
isn't she?
She's definitely exotic. She's half French, half Spanish. Everybody in her family married a different nationality. So her mum's half French, half Austrian, Jewish. Her dad was Catholic, Spanish, half Czech. There's Russian in there. There's it's a total Mongol time. Which explains for a lot. And I don't actually look remotely English. I don't think.
Do you know
that's what my mother's felt so annoyed, is that she said as soon as you suddenly became well known, it's like your father did a DIY job and it was like nothing to do with me, and and everybody's unmistakable when you see her that I am her daughter. I mean, I love my dad, but like his nose, thank God I don't have his nose.
What is wrong with his nose?
His nose was large. No, it had a special shape to it. In fact, people say that I do, but just a smaller version. But I am, with Mum and me, we've always been like, oh, you must be Elena's daughter. It is unmistakable.
You are, in fact, almost a Spanish appearance.
Yeah, well, that's what's Mum. Mum's dark and pale.
In fact, the person you remind me of in the flesh is Penelope Cruz.
Oh, really?
Who I interviewed quite recently.
Hey, that's so nice.
Well,
I'm going to talk like my daughter, because he talks like this. No, I think she's fantastic. God, she's a
She says hastily. No, of course.
No, but she is fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, she's a fantastic actress. And she's so beautiful.
Will you ever go back to corsets in your film?
Of course I would.
You would? I mean, what would tempt you back to the world of corsetry?
Anything that's well written. It's just like anything that's well written, good story, great character, director who knows what they're doing.
Well, like what? I mean,
well, I just sort of did a period corset film. I wouldn't actually wear a corset. I was playing the Queen Mother, who didn't need a corset.
Are you talking about the late Queen Mother?
The late Queen Mother,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was in her earlier days. So it was in the 30s. It wasn't in her latter days, although I'd love to play her in her latter days. Latter days. And that was opposite Colin Firth. It was really about him and Geoffrey Rush. But that was 30s costuming.
So is this a film about the abdication, or...?
Yeah, abdication and his stammer. I'm just being supportive in the background. Although Colin did find it very funny as well. He said, oh, you're the least supportive. She was meant to be his strength and the person from which he got all his confidence and strength from. And because, of course, he stammers, he did take a long time to get through his lines. So I was just like... And whenever he'd look to me for support, I was always yawning, or looking at the time and thinking like,
this is extremely unright on.
But, it was, and it was just like, he said, thank you so much for being the least supportive actor.
Are you a patient person?
No, I'm not, I guess. It depends with who.
Or domestically, what about the children? What do you think they'd say about that?
In spasms, I'm patient. No, I'm not, actually. I'm really bad.
I remember hearing Nigella Lawson on Desert Island Discs a couple of years ago talking about being a mother, and she said, I can do the singing and I can do the cuddling, but the things I find hardest are imagination games. Now,
no, I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, so you're all right at that? OK.
No, the things that I've got a problem with is probably staying still and being present and being absorbed in what they get interested in. So there's a lot of things that I find a bit boring.
Like, go on.
They take their time, They're both really funny. So they're really entertaining. But I suppose, when you've got to listen to the back of your head of what you've got to do, that's what I'm that's what I'm bad at sort of thinking, everything can wait, I'm just going to be there for my kids. Football is not one of my highlights, but I can kick a ball around. I suppose some pretend games, with her little doggies kind of get to me a bit,
What are those two children going to do? Because as the product of this incredibly creative twosome, what lies ahead for them, do you think?
Well, I just hope they're happy. They'll do whatever they want. They'll probably be an accountant or something.
We should say that there are some very creative accountants around. That was Helena Bonham Carter. I have to say, interviewing her, perhaps not the most challenging assignment of any journalist's life, but she was just great company. And that film, Alice in Wonderland, goes on general release on Friday of this week.